Hello, everyone. So last night, Eve did not feel that she was complete. She had a great deal more to say, but I was having some difficulty maintaining my connection. So we're going to try again now and see if I can reach her and see what else she has to say. Yes, we wish to continue our discussion of trauma. Now, when last we spoke of trauma, we were talking about individual trauma, a particular event, say, that has occurred and that has caused some hampering or some pain in the individual. We gave a few suggestions for ways of dealing with this. We do not mean to say that you must always deal with trauma on your own. There are several other ways to deal with it that are available to you. You may wish to discuss your issues with a professional in the mental health field, with a clergy, or with friends. You may wish to use acupuncture or acupressure, deep massage, a very quick search through the internet will no doubt give you lots of things to consider, and you can use that which resonates with you the most. Now, one other technique we wish to give to you involves going through the trauma by not exactly reliving it, but by telling it to another, to someone with whom you feel safe, one or more persons with whom you feel safe, and you tell them the trauma over and over again until you can talk about it without injecting emotions. So, for example, you might say, this person held a gun to me and I was frightened. And you would continue telling the event until you could say, this person held a gun to me, and not add in the emotion of being frightened. Now, as you do this, you should be able to feel heat or something else emanating from you, because all trauma is held in the body, in the very cells of your physical body. And as you begin to release the emotions that come with the event, you will physically feel them leaving your body, and you will become more relaxed. Now, this brings up the question of neutrality. We have been asked whether it is beneficial to take a neutral stance. And we would like to say also that all of this that we are talking about tonight will relate to politics as well. So, neutrality is not actually a real thing while you are in flesh. Let us put it that way. You may think you are neutral, you may pretend to be neutral, but you are not. Uh, Deep inside yourself, you will find that you have a preference, perhaps even more than one. And if you are expressing neutrality, you are not being true to yourself. Now, there are also levels to this as there are to anything. So, for example, in some instances, neutrality may be a very positive thing to express to another. It may help you to avoid arguments. It may even at some points save your life. But if you are being honest, you will find that there is a preference. So, for example, say your neighbor says to you, I am going to get a dog. Do you think I should get a dog or do you think I should get a cat? Now, you may want to stay neutral about this. You don't want to start a fight with your neighbor. And so you may want to say, oh, it's up to you. I care not what you get. But if you are honest, you do care. You would prefer one or the other, or both, or none. Or perhaps you are thinking to yourself, well, if it were me, I would get a bird. But you're not going to express this to your neighbor because you don't want to start any kind of argument or whatever with this neighbor of yours. So you express neutrality. Now, this is a very minor thing, and as we talk about levels of neutrality, they will become more and more important or larger or on a grander scale, such as a country might be neutral, or in politics you may wish to express neutrality to either make yourself feel better, to pretend that you are not on one side or the other, but that you are centrist, that you are central to all of this that is going on around you. But again, don't kid yourself. Those who can be truly neutral are far and few between. In fact, we would probably say none, no one, with the possible exception of one or two of the great yogis who have approached very closely to neutrality. Now, we wish to get back to the definition of trauma, to what is trauma, and how does one handle trauma. Now, we would say that the earth as a whole has been in trauma for some time. Not only with pollution and climate change, if you will, but politically and with the pandemic, there has been a great deal of trauma throughout the earth. Now, this one lives in the United States, and so she has been mostly concerned with the trauma that has been going on in her country. But of course, there has been trauma in every country on this earth. You can see this with things like immigration, where people are fleeing a country where their lives seem to be nothing but trauma and hoping for something better in another country. In the United States, at this very moment, there is great trauma going on. If you look at Minnesota, just tonight, just as we speak, there are protests going on, and people are angry, and they are releasing this anger through nonviolent and violent means, both. Now, where did this anger come from? It came from trauma, and not just one trauma, but years of trauma that have been consistently a part of their existence. Now, in some countries, they live in a state of trauma, a constant state of trauma. And in some countries, we would say the trauma is periodic. It expresses itself only now and again when some sort of severe thing happens. Now, in the United States in particular, the last several years have been quite traumatic, not only due to authoritarian rule attempting to grab hold in a country that does not particularly care for that, that wishes a more fluid type of government. But on top of this, we have the pandemic, and we have these killings. So this has brought a lot of trauma to the surface, and not just to those who are participating in the protests, but individually. And there have been instances of trauma due to isolation, where people feel so lonely, or where those who are trapped in situations such as a female whose significant other beats her and she cannot escape. So there has been a great deal of trauma going on, and it is being released in a variety of ways. So we suggest that you look at trauma as more than just this particular thing happened and it traumatized me, or this particular thing happened and I can see that it has traumatized my friends. Indeed, right about now in the country, there is a great deal of trauma coming to the forefront. Now, why? What is the purpose of trauma? What is the purpose of the political situations that are going on around the world right now? As always, the purposes are to teach you and to expose things. We suggest that you must remember that you have agreed to all of this. That does not mean that these activities are, by your standards, good or proper or lawful, but they have been agreed upon, and they have been agreed upon to bring to the forefront some of the concepts which the human race wishes now to explore in greater depth. Now, individually, there may be explorations in a variety of levels for you. So you need to look at what is going on and your reaction to it, your beliefs surrounding it. One moment. Good. So you need to look at what your emotions are, what your beliefs are surrounding these events. And we ask you to remember also that you are not being forced to experience one or the other of these events. You have agreed to them, and you have the choice to move away into a different reality creation. So, if you feel, for example, that you are being forced into a more authoritarian type of government, we say to you, no, you don't have to experience that. You can choose not to. In a mass creation, however, which is what all politics is, what all government is, these are mass creations, you may decide to go along with many, many others to see what happens, or because you wish to explore these areas in more depth. So, we hope that this has given you a wider understanding of trauma and politics, and we look forward to further questions or comments that you may have. This one is ready to wrap it up, as you would say, right now, so we will speak to you yet again. Okay, that was certainly deeper than last night, and I guess I'm going to play it back and see what she said.